be sure to be loud so we can get you on the camera.
Okay, sure.
Okay. First question. What were the difficulties of learning French while being hearing impaired, and why did you choose it over other languages?
So the concerns that were raised is that because learning a foreign language requires good listening skills, because foreign language is all about communicating with other people. It's not just about reading and writing. And so they were concerned that I would have difficulties in learning to hear the sounds, because French and most other foreign languages, the sounds are different from the English language. And they were also afraid that I could struggle to learn how to pronounce the words because of my hearing loss. But the thing is that the teachers and counselors didn't understand is that my hearing loss is not that great because of the technology that I had program campus. I can truly hear well. And so they were just not well educated in it. And so I said I had to really fight in that to prove to myself that I could really learn the language and my hearing loss should not stop me. I mean, even if anyone who had a greater loss of hearing loss who can't hear well should still be able to learn foreign language. It just means that we have to work extra harder and overcome the challenges. And so I took French. And I mean, I did have some difficulties in learning to hear and understand some words, but I worked extra hard by going to the teacher and said, okay, I'm having trouble in understanding this word and hearing these sounds. Would you be able to assist me in these areas of issues that I had? And she said, no problem. And so she said, are you available after school or before school? So I met with her after school, and she worked one-on-one on the areas that were more challenging for me, and I was able to overcome them. And what was your other questions?
Why did you choose it over?
I chose it because my dad's side of the family is from Canada, and Canada, as you probably know, their official language is both English and French. And so a lot of my family members knew French or learned French. And both of my parents learned French. And so I chose it mainly because of the family.
Do you know how to say any words in French now?
Talk to each other in French?
Yes.
No, we haven't. I wished, but...
Do you know any words in French?
Oh, do I know any
Yeah.
words? Yeah, I mean, I can speak fluently now. Like,
Like
in
say,
other
how
words,
you
I can
doing?
have a conversation, but because it's been 3 years since I last spoken
Oh.
fluently, it's a little bit rusty. But if I go back to France, and if I'm totally immersed in there for a month, it'll all come back to me.
Who was there for you when you were struggling?
Who was there for me while struggling? I would say my high school French teacher, who was my teacher during all 4 years of high school. She taught me every single French courses that I took, and she stayed at school with me about once a week for an hour to really tutor me in areas that I struggled, and she really watched me from having no knowledge of French to becoming fluent in French. And so she really was the person who got me to succeed beyond the expectations of people who told me that I could not learn foreign language.
What advice would you give kids our age about changes they can make in their community to like help?
To help others in their community?
Yeah, and just things like that.
My advice would be that is to look for the issues that exist in the community and say, okay, this is the issue that we need to solve, and then start a discussion on what needs to be changed, and then come up with different solutions and ideas how to reach to the change that you want to see. And my other advice is don't ever be afraid to be outspoken and to speak up what your mind says. Because one of the things I've learned over the years is that if we don't speak up, if we don't say anything about how we feel, nothing's going to be changed. Change only happens when we say something to others.
Who or what inspired you to become an upstander?
I would say there were many different people throughout my life who inspired me to be an upstander. First, my parents, several teachers who I had throughout my life, from elementary school teachers to different middle school teachers to high school teachers to doctors and therapists who worked with me. I would say that it really took a village of people to really contribute to who I became today.
Did you feel discriminated against in any way, and how did you overcome that?
Well, definitely when I was told that I could have learned French, because when people told me that I couldn't learn it, I felt that they were prejudging, because I've learned some other foreign languages in the past, but they were not on a rigorous curriculum. They were more like basic foreign language learning, just to get an idea of which languages I wanted to learn, but I've never really gotten into full immersion. And so I felt that they had no right to judge whether or not I was capable until I actually really got into the class and tried. Right? In other words, you never know what you're capable of until you actually try and do something. And so that's why I felt discriminated, because they never actually saw me experiencing trying to learn French. And so I felt that they needed to give me a chance and to let me try. So that's just one example. And then there were, other times, like when I was later in elementary school, when we were all hitting preteens and heading to teenage years, where everybody was trying to fit in and to be better and more popular than others. And so I've run into a couple of occasions where my classmates would say, no, you can't be part of this group, or they would say, because they would say, no, you can't join us for a conversation, we're having a private conversation. Or there'll be a couple of occasions where they'll be like literally right in front of me and whispering and thinking that I can't hear, when they don't even realize that my hearing is actually really good and I actually do know what they're saying. So those were issues that happened because of lack of maturity and people not understanding how to treat others. And I'm sure you've seen those situations where it's the age, it's a certain stage of life.
It's high school.
Yes, exactly.
How did you feel when you found out about your disabilities?
Well, I was born deaf, so I was born with a disability. I never really found out that I had a disability, so I grew up with it, and it was always part of my life. And I've always thought that I could never imagine what my life would be like without a disability, because I found that it has brought in so many treasures to my life. For example, through Facebook and other social media sites, I've met other people with hearing loss from all over the world, and so that gave me an excuse to travel, to visit other countries, because I got invited to stay at their places, and so I got a free place to stay and make new friends and meet new people from all over the world, and it all happened because of my disability. But on the other hand, just after I graduated from high school, I learned I had another disability, which is retinitis pigmentosa, which is a condition that causes slow progression of blindness. And of course I was devastated because, and so it was one of those situations where I got to really understand what it's to be like to be diagnosed with a disability. Like, in other words, it's a situation like as if someone who never had a disability but then learned they had a disability. And so for me, it's like, oh my God, I have another one, like, am I gonna become more disabled? But then I realized, okay, if I was able to overcome my deafness and live independently and learn to live with a fulfilling life, I could continue to do with my eye condition too. And it's just a matter of learning the new challenges and how to overcome that.
What is one lesson you've learned through your experiences in life going through everything?
So what did you say?
What is one lesson
What is one lesson?
that you learned through your experiences?
One lesson. I would say this one particular quote that my high school health teacher taught me is that today is a present. Today is the present. That's why it's called the gift. I don't know if you heard of this quote, but it's very famous. And
The present.
today is the present.
That's why it's called.
That's why it's called the gift. And this quote is so important because it's taught me to enjoy one day at a time and not to stress over what's going to happen in the future. Because, for example, the eye condition I had, people would normally stress over what their future would be like when if they lose all of their vision. I don't think about it. I just enjoy the vision I have today and just live every day as if I'm enjoying today. And so that's why I learned is not be stressed over what's going to happen tomorrow. And just realize what I'm capable of today.
I have one more question about the French. How you say how you doing
Sure.
in French?
How did I do in French?
Yeah, how you doing?
I made straight A's all the way through and took AP French, the highest level, and I also had the opportunity to participate in a statewide foreign language competition where the competition is conducted only in oral, and I got the highest score.
You know, like, how you say, like, if you want to ask someone how they doing, how do you say it in French?
Comment ça va or ça va?
Do you know how to write that?
Yes.
Can you write
It's,
it for me?
the word comma is actually spelled the same way as comment. And this one is more formal where they you speak to strangers if you don't know you would say comma ça va. And then ça va is more is less formal, which would be like with your friends.
Thank you.
Okay, you guys have any other questions, or you good?
I think we're good.
Great. Okay. And thank you. If you have any questions, you can email me.